And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host as always, Tina. How are you doing, Tina?
I'm hanging in there. Not a bad week so far, so can't complain.
And just so the people out there know, I mean, not that they need to, but we're recording this actually on the day that the last show dropped. So if you're listening today on a Wednesday and you're listening about weed, that's today's show. So you're probably at this particular time or at some time today, you listen to it. Yes. So thank you. Because, and I got to just say that there's somebody that's in Ireland that loves us. So if you're the one listening in Ireland, like super cool. Thank you. Because you have been, which is kind of cool. Anyway, like we were talking about a few things before we got on today.
Yes.
And we had to throw a couple of things away because, we are always coming up with some subjects that are testy or whatever. But this one I think is, pretty universal. I don't remember who told me to do this one, but it might have been my friend down the street. I don't remember, but probably because I don't think she's had many jobs because she's also in a business that she's been with 25 years. But worst jobs. And, we've all been in a couple of them. You're kind of, I was thinking like, wow, what would you really talk about? Because you've been doing hair for so long. But in your case, it would be more like bad bosses or bad coworkers.
Or bad clients. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know what? You're right, because that kind of gets thrown into.
They are my boss.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you really only rent a station, so they're really not your boss either, right?
Right. And I've had really good actual bosses for, people that own the shops. They were good people, so I can't really say anything bad about them.
Yeah, I guess you have a good way of putting it that, yeah, your clients would make a bad job. Sort of like retail, because we both worked retail at some point.
Hated it.
And truly, retail is a great stepping stone job. I think everyone should work it at least once. So you get the mix of like having to deal with other human beings. Because it'll make you not want to get into a job where you have to.
Right.
And the funny thing is that's all I've ever done. Customer service type jobs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've dealt with people at every single job I've ever had. With the exception of like my first job, I worked for UPS and I loaded a truck. So I didn't really deal with customers. But after that, pretty much dealt with customers my whole life.
I didn't like retail. I worked for Big Five and I worked for Target and couldn't stand it. But I also think I was at an age where I wasn't going to be able to put up with anything anyway. I was like 17, 18, 19, not giving a shit, Money there wasn't really a reason for money then. For me,
it was all fun. It was fun money.
It was definitely fun money. And I squandered it aimlessly anytime there was even the remote possibility of there being fun. So, but I didn't like retail. I did have a shitty boss and I really did hate working for the dry cleaner. I worked for a dry cleaner and the boss's brother-in-law used to get handsy, and one time I just couldn't take it, and I kicked him right in the sack, and I got fired for it and everything. But
in the
he
sack
saved me. I like kicked as hard as I could. I just got tired of being
groped.
Yeah.
So that'll definitely make a job shitty. I think, look, there's lots of things that can make a job not good.
Oh, for sure.
Again, friend down the street, she's in the medical industry and has to deal with human beings every single day on levels that I sometimes she says stuff to me and I feel for her so much, because it's not like I work in electronics retail, and the worst thing that you could hear is, "Hey, my stereo receiver is broken, and why isn't it covered?" And you could get into that argument. She has people coming in that are in pain, have issues, like serious stuff. That
Hmm.
so I give anyone that's in that industry, the medical industry, it's you have to give them a little bit of a prop because it's generally never good news, right? They're there because they don't feel well. So I think that in that case, I can, God, I can see why it can't be good. So, you know, uh, yes, I think that shitty jobs can push you into something better, or you just realize that you're in a good career and you stay with it.
Right.
Um,
I think you also you get in a niche where you know how to deal with it because you get the same type of complainer, or you get the same type of personality that's a pain in the ass, and you just learn how to live with it. You learn how to not get caught up in whatever their stress is,
mhm.
and you just go with it. I mean, that's what I do. And people come in all the time with bad things happening, then they tell me because it's not a professional atmosphere. It's like, "Hey, how's it going?" They really mean for the next hour and a half they're going to dump whatever they can. And I
Right.
get it. I get it. And I'm good for listening to it because of the fact that I've had over 34 years of being a hairdresser.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So because of that, um I have a lot of life knowledge. And so when people I was just talking to my cousin today about someone that she knows that just lost her mom. And I said I was having a hard time getting close to this girl because she seemed very like she had a little wall put up, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
"Is she really a good person? Like, do you like her?" She's like, "Oh yeah, you just got to get to know her. No problem. Just give her a chance." Like, she's kind of, it takes her a minute to warm up. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I like people like that because they're trying to see if they want to even be friends with me. And those are the type of people that you want to have around. You want them to make a choice.
Mhm.
Are you in it with me or are you not? We don't need to play games. And I like
Right.
that. So, but anyway, she came in and she brought up the fact that her mom had passed and she was going through all the stuff that you go through the first year of your mom passing. And my mom's been gone in July, it'll be 14 years. So I had a lot to say. And I believe that I was there in a way for her that she just needed. And, that not that I would wish my mom to be dead. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm grateful that I learned from her passing
Mhm.
in a way that I could help other people go through just a little less suffering. And that was a cool thing that I was able to do. And imagine, talking to somebody that you can't relate to on that level, and they're aching and they're hurting and they're looking in a mirror, so they're very vulnerable. And they're gonna say more than what they probably wanted to say when they walked in.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I kind of dig that part of the job, but I also sometimes wish that the conversations didn't have to be so deep and they didn't have to be so hard. Like, I love sex conversations. I was acting a fool today at work and telling probably stuff I shouldn't, and just calling women on their bullshit because they were being way too hard on the men, and I was just tired of hearing the bashing and wanted to just fuck with them. So um we got into a conversation about sex, and I was telling me, you guys are doing it all wrong. Like, no wonder you don't want to have sex with him. No wonder. Like, I don't know. Those conversations are much better, but or easier, I should say, not better. So it's always a good conversation, but the conversations could be kind of draining at times. Or if you don't agree with somebody, that's a horrible that's a horrible couple of hours you spend with a person when you don't agree with the shit they're spewing. That's not
Right. I,
so. I have situations like that.
I think with you, you come from a different man, your mental strain can make a job bad. You know what I mean? Like they
Sometimes.
could just come in and drop every single thing that's going wrong in their life on you,
Yeah.
which has gotta be just brutal.
You
Um,
know, you just, again, it's part of the job.
mhm,
And I'm glad to be able to be there for certain people. And if it's something that I've been through, or if I could find just something that I could say that may take a little bit of their pain away, I'm good for that. That's become my specialty. So
uh,
I don't know. It is draining though. That kind of stuff in the job is not my favorite. But all the fun stories and all the, like, if people want to tell their deep dark secrets and it's all the stuff they're embarrassed about, those are normally my favorite stories, and I get a lot of those too.
right. I
So,
mean, I think things that can make jobs horrible, like generally the job can be, right? Let's say you just have a job that's my son quit a job that he worked where I work right now, and he worked in a warehouse, and it was hard labor, and he lifted stuff all day, and it was hard.
mhm,
And then quit, and then I was like, bro, like, "Ugh," like really. Um, but again, some people just aren't built for that.
right?
I think a
It's
lot of
true.
young people now have issues with like hard labor. I saw a post today by somebody.
Harsh words, even can't even say shit.
Well, I saw a post today
Oh,
by somebody on Facebook, and she is, I believe, in her 30s. Believe in her 30s, and she posted something today that I almost fell out of my seat. It said, "My work today is like you can't even get you can't eat food or anything right now. They're calling it theft if you're not doing it on a break, and they want me to stand all day even though the store's not busy because." And I was like, "Okay, you're weak. Like that's work. You don't like
mhm,
that shit? Quit." I mean, I'm lucky I can eat on my job. I'm lucky, but I've been in plenty of jobs where I couldn't.
I can't.
Yeah.
If I'm busy with a client, there's no time for food. You just gotta suck it up until you got a minute.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, yeah, exactly. That's just the way of the world. And it happens and it is what it is. Like, so for me, I kind of just thought, man, you are weak. Like, I've been on jobs
Mhm.
where like they don't give two shits and I was making 650 an hour, when I first got a
Right?
job. So my bigger thing is this is yes, there be something better? Obviously. Jobs are rough. I think things that make jobs the worst are the people who work with you.
Mhm.
They can make a good job or a great job utterly miserable. Having a bad boss, having a bad coworker, someone
Mhm.
who just brings the whole room down. It's rough. And I find that the hardest part because I've worked at places it was a fun job and then an employee will just fuck it up.
Yeah.
I mean, just there's been jobs where I didn't want to go to work because of people who work there. It was just miserable. I was just, this is utterly horrible. Thankfully, that one I could transfer to a different branch and that's what I did. So I got
Nice.
out of the situation doing that. But some people aren't lucky like that. I mean, I worked for a company that I could do that. It's
Even
rough when you don't.
yeah, even in the salon, like, there's big personalities. Like, we're all very, like, I don't know, we could talk to everybody. We have to be kind of the life of the party.
Hmm.
We have to be upbeat. So there's a lot of big personalities that are hairdressers, and um I remember this one girl that I worked with. She was very religious, and she had to have very long red nails. Not that they don't go together. I don't even know why I said that. But anyway, everything about her used to piss me off. And then she'd be like, "Tina, oh Tina," and I'd be like, "Yes," and she'd go, "Have a nice night. God
Oh
bless."
boy.
And I like after being annoyed with her all day because very opinionated. Oh no, it would look better like this, and only I could do that, and I'm so great, and oh, she used to drive me crazy. And then the God bless at the end, I wanted to just hit her with something. And she made me crazy to the point where I actually went and started looking for another job.
Right.
There's two things that are not supposed to be put together at work, and that is opinionated women and religion. Like you don't put those two together because you could cause a riot, and I'm not about to do that.
Yeah, it's turmoil.
Yeah, or not.
Uh, yes, and I think lots of things can, differences in opinions, just that
Hmm.
can cause turmoil. And I'm sure now with the political climate the way it is, you can't say anything. Like
Oh,
when
no.
I worked for a place called the Good Guys, which is very far gone now. Uh, how do we explain it to people on the East Coast? Best Buy, right? It was a
Some
Best Buy.
electronics.
It was a higher end Best Buy. It was really great place to work. Um, when I started working there, it was 91, and there was no there was no rules. Like, I mean, there were, but like, man, we were brutal and vulgar and with each other and not quite hazed people, but hazed people.
Mhm.
I had a buddy that worked with me, and he had to take the bus to work. He didn't have a car yet, and he was always late because the bus. What do you do? So it got to the point where he knew he was going to be late, and there was a McDonald's on the way. He would just call us and say, "Hey, I'm picking you guys up breakfast because I'm going to be late today." And we just let it ride. And then it got to the point where he became a really good friend of mine. And, thank goodness the company's gone. We would just doctor his time card, and I would backdate it to being on time, and then he would bring us food.
Oh,
I mean,
that's funny.
we were all poor. Like it was like when you're making $6.50 an hour, $6.50 an hour. And not only that, I was making $6.50 an hour, and I lived by myself, paying my own rent in an apartment. Like
Wow.
I was poor, poor. So much that I've talked about it on this show before. My buddy's dad owned a KFC in Reseda, and he closed all the time. And I would drive my car there, and at the end of the night, he would just let me take as much food as I wanted home.
Wow.
Yeah, and he knows it, and I've said stuff to him many, many times. I owe him a lot during those years because he kept me surviving. He fed me, like, and it's funny because I had bought some wrestling belts for me and my best friend down in San Diego, and I've got one for him. And I sent it to him, and he didn't know it was coming. And both of them, when I gave one to my friend in San Diego in person, and then I told him to open it on camera, like a video of it. Both of them I brought to tears.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's great. But I mean, it's that kind of thing where, and it's funny thing is talk about the jobs he hated working at KFC. This guy, oh my goodness, the shit talking that he would say. People would come in and I would be sitting at a table and they'd order and do a bunch of shit and then they'd leave and he'd be like, mother, and just go off on people. It's hard. Like, and look, I can't bitch. I sit at a desk uh, a lot of the time. I do get up and move, but I generally answer a phone and I sell stuff to people.
Yeah.
I mean, there are really, really hard jobs. My son, let me see, my son's stepbrother, um, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, calls him. We're over at Cane's getting some chicken. And he gets a phone call from him. And he goes, "Hey man, just wanted to tell you, I'm moving to Texas tomorrow.
Oh, damn.
out of nowhere. I just want to tell you, I'm going to be moving. I'm going down here. I just want you to know you can come down anytime. He got a job. He does hard labor. He's a young kid. He's only like, let's see, my kid's 22. He's like 20,
Okay.
but he works hard labor stuff. I guess he's going to go down there and work in oil fields. He's gonna
Oh,
make $9,000 a month.
wow.
It's a dangerous job, very dangerous job. So, um, so look, I can bitch all I want about getting yelled at by people and having
Yeah, but
bad
it's
stuff.
not a
Uh,
bad job.
I am not worried about, generally not worried about dying at work. You know what I
It's
mean?
true.
So, we can all complain. Look, my first job was with UPS. I loaded trailers, 50-foot trailers. That was the utterly worst job I've ever had. It should be prison labor.
Hmm.
Now, here's the flip side of that. I talked to a guy at UPS now that is a truck driver, but he did loading a couple of years ago. And I was like, that shit sucked. And I had to check every zip code and you had to build these walls, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, yeah, they don't do any of that shit anymore. All you do is build walls and that's it. And I was like, what? He goes,
Mm.
yeah, all the zip codes are exactly correct. The way they come down the belt, you don't have to do it. All you do is build walls all day long. And I was like, are you kidding? And he goes, no, it's so much easier. So like, even that job, they had to streamline and find a way. If you can believe this, when I worked for UPS, and this was in 80, 89, 80, just the winter of our graduation, I came back from a summer vacation with my mom and went to work for them.
I remember that.
After 7 days, they had a get together and were like, yeah, you made it. 7 days because
Wow.
because the turnover there is less than a week.
That's crazy.
I was flabbergasted. I remember going home that day and talking to my best friend because he worked for him too. And he had been there a while. And I go, what in the fuck is going on here? And he's like, yeah, like people quit here all the time. I go, no. And then I ended up quitting after 30 days because I just couldn't take it. And I worked a weird shift. I worked from 11 at night to 2 a.m. I worked some weird shift and it just wasn't for me. And I remember it was October and the guy, my supervisor comes to me and he goes, hey man, are you sure you don't want to stay until December? And I go, bro, I don't like it when it's not busy. You want me to stay for Christmas? Are you out of your mind?
Right?
Like, yeah. And then after that, I worked for Foot Locker at the Northridge Mall, which actually wasn't a bad job. I worked in a warehouse and I stacked shoes into holes all day. It was a pretty simple job. And then I got one of the greatest jobs you can ever have on the planet. I got a job working at the Family Fun Arcade.
Oh, I remember that.
That was I worked there years. It was awesome.
That's
With the exception of the crazy hours I worked. I worked until 2 a.m. every single day and then skateboarded in the middle of Balboa on my way home.
crazy.
Which you probably couldn't even do now because
You
I'm sure
can't.
Balboa at 2 a.m. is packed.
Still pretty busy. No, it's not packed, but it's consistently busy.
Yeah, like I remember skateboarding, and I'm not joking, like dead center at 2 a.m. and it was like nobody there. And that was in 90. Yeah, it was wild. And then of course I got a chance to work for the good guys and I worked there for 10 years. And look, there was ups and downs in any job that I've ever had.
For sure.
Craziest job, wrestling. If you want to call it a job, it was more of a hobby that they paid me for.
My husband, sex operator, was probably crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. We talked about that. And then I told you that my mom admitted to doing it like years later. I told her, I was like, oh yeah. We did this show and Tina told me that she was a phone sex operator and she was like, I did that too. And I was like, what? Yeah, it was funny. I was on Skype with her and I was like, you what? And she's like, yeah, it was a crazy job. I about lost my shit. I fell out of my chair for the wrong reason. I actually thought it was kind of funny. because it was one of those things with my mom that like didn't surprise me after
Mhm.
she said it. Like
Mhm.
once it processed and it went through my one ear into my brain, processed around, and then got it out the other side. Then I was like, that doesn't surprise me. My mom worked at, I mean, pardon, I don't want to offend anyone, but she worked at a nut house, like a legitimate one where they like put people in jackets and padded rooms and drugged
Mm.
people, like a nut
Mental
house.
institution, huh?
Yeah, a mental facility is
Yes.
what they would call that now. So like it didn't surprise me. My mom, I'm sure, worked all kinds of crazy shit that I didn't know of because when I lived with my dad, you know, she didn't tell me everything she was doing at the time. But I think that like, look, going forward, we're lucky. We're kind of in the twilight of what we're doing. You're not going to stop doing hair now just to stop doing hair. You know what I mean?
No,
The-
it'll be because my fingers give out or
yes, I mean you'll stop doing shit because you can't do it
yeah,
physically.
yeah.
Um, and then truly you could probably stay in the business and run a shop, like be a shop manager. You know what I mean? Like you could still be in the business because you know so much
Or teach.
or teach. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So like you could always probably stay around it.
Mhm.
It's just rough. Like I'm lucky. I can't say I've had like horribly bad jobs. I've heard bad stories though from people who've had horrible, just again, like every day at work was just like cutting yourself. Just, it was horrible. It was like got yelled at every day, the boss just made it utterly impossible. And look, I get it. It- You can quit. And that seems so easy on paper, right? Um, these days, I think it's a little easier to at least start looking, right? Because everything's online now. So you can just go home at night and, and like send out 40 resumes and at
Right.
least, you're floating yourself out there, which I think is much easier. But you can't
Ye
quit. Like you just, I
It's
don't
true.
understand how people do that. Just, I'm just going to quit my job. Like, wow, if you're that financially ahead that you can not worry, that's crazy.
Mhm.
And mhm, go.
Just the fact that you have to have a resume to get a job now. Back when I was getting jobs, I didn't need a resume.
Really?
Mm-mm.
I mean,
I worked for Bank of America for 5 years. I worked in customer service. I was a customer service training manager, and, I worked in the special vault with, like, millions upon millions of dollars, and I didn't have to give them a resume. I
wow.
mean, I don't think you need a resume for phone sex operator. I did
Mm-mm.
just fine without it.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Target didn't need a resume,
Right.
just applied. Big 5 just needed a resume or didn't need a resume, just
Mhm.
applied. Um,
I'm sure a lot of retail, you probably don't need a resume
mm,
because, you're filling something that's a teachable job.
right?
Um, I think, let's see, when did I need a resume? I didn't for the good guys, but after that, I went from there. And then, well, no, and then I worked for an alarm distributor and I didn't need one there only because I played hockey with them. That's how I got hired. I was a goaltender on their hockey team. And they're like, hey, man, you want to work on the warehouse where we work? I'm like, sure. Um,
Sure.
After that is when I needed it. When I came back to California from Vegas, because I was going into the alarm business and I needed
Right.
to apply for a real job.
You were
Um,
bonded at that point, right?
Not yet. Um, yes, once you get into the alarm business, regardless of what you do, whether you're a technician, a manager, or an office employee, you actually have to go through the steps of getting fingerprinted and go through the process of background check, like a
Mm.
serious one. Um, uh, it's a really heavy duty background check. It's almost federal employee. It's like right below federal employee.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. You can't, when I was going to get my CCW, I remember I was getting fingerprinted by the sheriff and he's like, "Well, you're going to do this and we're going to run your background. I go, I'll pass it. And he was like, what do you mean? I go, I guarantee you I'll pass this background check. And he's like, well, why? And of course, like he was a nice guy. He's like, why do you think that? And I go, well, I was an alarm technician. And the only way you can be one of those is to go through the exact same background check, if not better than yours. And he was like, oh, you need that? And I go, yeah, I'm putting alarms in like $1 million homes with people's stuff in it. Yes, you have to, it's a serious background check.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing like that too, where man, I had some ups and downs working as an alarm tech too, because of other people that I worked with. I had great bosses, but
Right.
there were other employees that at certain points I would have pushed the ladder down that they were on. Yeah. And I'm sure they thought the same thing about me because I can be a little rough around the edges when it comes to things. I was talking to somebody the other day who I worked with like 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, like 16 years ago. I went to where they work and her husband works there. And I was like, hey, just like shooting the shit. And I go, oh yeah. She goes, oh, maybe if everything works out, maybe you can come back and work for our company. And I go, yeah, it'd be cool. But I go, I heard I can't work with your husband. And she's like, oh, like, I go, don't take that wrong. She's like, well, who said that? And I go, it doesn't matter who said it, but this is why. And I go, I, I have a, um, when I feel I'm right, I will tell you to fuck off. But on the flip side, I'm also the person that if I'm wrong, I have no problem admitting it,
Right.
which is not common for a man.
It's true.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
I have no problem with that, and I've said it to people I've been in relationships or people that I've liked. Like if I'm wrong, I have no problem saying, "Yep, I was wrong. I'm sorry." Just because get it out of the way. There's nothing wrong with
Mhm.
it. So everyone can't be right. So,
And if you can't be wrong, then you're really going to have problems.
well, yeah, because you think that you're perfect and no one
Yeah.
is.
No realization.
But my old boss, before I came to work for this company, I had a female boss. It was the owner's wife. And when she took over that department, she said something to me one time. She goes, "Oh, you're going to be okay working with working for a woman." And I was like, "I don't care. It's all the same. Just be cool to me. Like that's all I care." Like
Mhm.
the other thing, I the only thing I don't like about working for a woman is some of them can be motherly, right? And my old boss, the one I just had, she just quit. And she one day she was like standing at the computer and like, click this and do. I go, listen, I'm not your fucking kid. I'm a big boy. Just explain it to me, and then I'll do it. And she's like, oh. And we had to sit down, and I said, listen, I have no problem working for a woman. I've done it. I did it for 7 years. It was awesome. She was a great person. I go, here's the only thing is that you have to understand that you have to treat us all differently at some point. We should all be within the same regulations, but we're all have different personalities.
Mhm.
And I said, there is no one thing for everybody. And I've worked for people that um, are very much like that, that everything's the exact same. And I was like, you can't do that. You know, um, it's, man, it can be so bad. But again, then there's the flip side of people getting treated better because they're friends.
Mhm.
So, um, I think the things that drive people away from employment long term that makes just a bad job is for one, lack of compassion with outside things. I mean, I've had two people, very important people die in my life, and I never took time off just because,
Right.
I think I was trying to fill the void of not having to think about it.
Mhm.
Um, Looking back on that, I probably should have took bereavement for my mom for sure.
Mhm.
Just to, sit in it and go, okay. But I've heard that some places don't even give you bereavement pay.
They have to by law.
maybe in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think outside of here, I bet you there's not the same kind of laws. California's laws for employment, I got to say, are pretty good, and you can you can really press employers with the laws. That's the one good thing.
Hmm.
Um, but I see how some people manipulate or some companies manipulate things like the insurance thing. Oh, if you don't work this many hours, they'll just make sure you don't. So they don't have to offer you insurance. And it's sucky
Yeah.
because I try to tell my kid this, you know, what and again, I was young and I probably shouldn't have cared, but I was very happy that I had insurance for 10 years when I worked for the good guys because I was wrestling during that time and I got hurt a lot and I went to the doctor, thankfully. And I try to tell him, like, he's working for somebody right now. They're good people, and he's probably not working enough hours there, but he works for them outside. But
Yeah.
I told him, I said, at some point, dude, you have to press them for insurance. Like, it's important. What happens if you something happens and you get hurt and you have to go to the doctor? It's even with insurance, it's expensive. Like, I have Kaiser, which is good insurance. But
Hmm.
the new company that just bought us got a shitty version of it. My
Oh,
deductible for every visit's $100.
that's some bullshit.
Yeah. Before my old company was $10. Yeah. So and like, uh, uh, I don't have to stop paying a deductible until I hit $1,500. It's like, there's a lot of, it's just shitty. And it's like,
A lot of people
please
can't
stop
afford that.
doing that.
Yeah.
These companies do, well, and not only that, there should only be one version of it. Stop. And I'm sure that that's along the line of like them just trying to be cheap. That there should be like Kaiser and there's one and everyone gets it. And if you want a
Hmm.
PPO, it's this and it's whatever company does it. Because that is what will make jobs horribly and shitty is when they like, again, I've been with companies that have been bought several times and everything always goes sideways. Like they try to do the cheapest shit and
Yeah.
then they end up losing good employees because of,
They merge.
yeah, well, and they lose good employees because of shitty decisions. It's like, why? Why would you do all this? And I understand that they try to integrate and they want to make one big payment and they want to do this. It's like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it really drives people away. I'm seeing it right now where I work. We got bought. Come June, I think our pay scale is going to change. So we just got a raise on April
Hmm.
1st. And I made a joke to the guys at my work. I go, awesome. We're going to get paid more money for 2 months and then they're going to restructure our shit in June and we're all going to be pissed off. And they were like, oh, and I go, dude, that's just reality. It's like, I hope not, but that can be reality. So companies now need to step back and look, everyone's in the business of making money. I don't want to
That's for sure.
I don't want to curve that at all. We work in California where McDonald's employees make $20 an hour.
Hmm.
So if you're in a business where you have technical skills, maybe you didn't go to school, but you have those technical skills. What are they going to pay you? They're not going to pay you 22, right? It's like, well,
Right.
or let's say you went to school and you're like, again, you're in the medical field. You're an LVN. You've gone to school. You've done things. You're not an RN yet. What should you make? You should make a good living. I think you should make more than me. And I do
Hmm.
pretty well. I didn't go to school for what I know. I just happened to be in the right places at the right time, learning the right shit.
Right.
You know, people, uh, and again, if you're dealing with where you can kill somebody, because you can, mostly them. My friend down the street, she's in the medical field. Her daughters are LVNs. And she told me like some of the things that they do. Like people die around them all the time. So you're around death.
Hmm.
You are injecting people with shit that if you fuck up, you could kill them. Like I think
For sure.
you should be paid quite well for the problems of maybe getting sued for doing something wrong or something happens or whatever. It's an important thing that employers now, they make the jobs worse than they really are.
Mhm.
And that's the sad part. I hope, man, I hope going forward, I doubt it'll ever happen, but like we all want a job that we love to go to. Who doesn't? I when you work at a place that you like to go to and it's fun and you're all making money and things are just rolling. Like 3 years ago when I moved where I moved and I went to a new company, it was rolling. Business was good. Everything was, man, everyone was banging around. We were smiling and laughing and having a good time every day. And we are all making a good living. This new company bought us and you can see how it's changing and
Mhm.
no one's happy and people are quitting the company like in droves. Lots of people are quitting. So it, I understand where a horrible job can ruin who you are as a person. I mean, I don't know. Did you ever take work home?
Nope.
You're lucky.
Mhm.
I did. There was a couple of years I really took it home, and I took it out on my kid because I was angry and I was tired and I wasn't happy. My
Mm.
job was really, really taking its toll on me to the point where I sat down one night after probably saying something I probably shouldn't have, or just not being in a good mood and sitting in my fucking room staring at the ceiling. That I told myself that night, I'm not going to take this shit home with me ever again, no matter where I work.
That's good. That's the way you should be.
And I went to my boss at the time, my friend Scott, who passed away, great guy. And I told him, I go, just so you know, dude, when that door hits me on the ass, I don't care about this place. And he goes,
Mhm.
fair enough. I go, I'm taking it home. I'm taking it out on my kid. I'm taking it out on my roommate at the time. Like it was just, I was not a good person to be around. Since then, I don't take my fucking work home and I don't give two shits. But when and don't get me wrong, when I'm at work, 110, I work. I have no problem. You just can't. And I think that's
No, you
also what
shouldn't.
makes your job the worst job possible when it's just eating you alive inside.
Mm.
You're lucky. I'm glad that it's good to hear that that you don't and you never have because it can really destroy. There's nothing wrong with like having a mate that you bring a small piece of work home. Like, oh man, I had a shitty day today. Oh, well, what happened? This. Oh, okay, well, let's sit down dinner. We watch a movie. Oh, boo, awesome. You know what I mean? That's normal talk about work. Like I didn't have a great day, or man, I had a good day and it was busy and blah blah blah. Awesome.
Right.
But I know people who, taking their work home and it turned to drinking and,
Mm.
and both of them drank and it bad. And I worked with her and it was bad, like really bad. So yeah, you can works can destroy you. So, and I would love to say, choose wisely, but that's also not easy either.
Don't be where you're not wanted either. You don't have to. You shouldn't have to fight people to be able to work.
That's a great statement. You're right. You shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't have to draw a line in the sand with your coworkers. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I'm not, yeah. And I've had that where I work right now. There's a guy who works with me. He's actually a really nice guy, but I think he has some issues, some mental issues, and I mean that in a nice way. He would bully another guy at my work all the time, right in front of me. And I had worked there maybe a month, and he had said something to me, but kind of uh, he not bullying. I mean bullying, but really not. But trying to make a point in front of he said it in front of everybody, and I don't do well with that. And I jumped in his ass in front of everybody, like literally. I was like, "Don't say that shit to me ever again." And like everyone stopped. It was so funny. I said, "You get it?" I said, "I don't take that shit. I don't give a fuck." Blah blah blah. He's never said anything to me ever again, and that was like 3 years ago. I mean, not didn't say anything, just never tried pushing my buttons. And I told the other guy, so you see that? I said, don't take that shit from him no more. Like, I don't get it. And
And you
and
shouldn't
now
have
we're
to work like that. There's no reason for that.
yeah. I just think that he thought I was coming in because he's worked there a very long time. I mean, a very long time. And I think he was
Competition.
trying to get his position and show his position off to everybody. And I was like, bro, I've been in this industry longer than you've been working, period, working. And I said that right to him. I go, I don't give a shit how long you've been here. I've been in this business for, 18 years and you've only been here 10. It was your first job. Don't get crazy with me.
Exactly.
and I kind of called him out in front of everybody. And I was like, dude, you've only done this and you have no experience in the field. You don't know, any of this shit. Don't go there. But, and again, since then, we're all great. Good guy. We talk all the time. He loves guns. We talk guns. He's a good cat. He was just one
You
that,
talk guns now and you work together.
yeah.
That's a
I,
little
I mean,
scary.
he's not a bad person. I just think that he was trying to, edge in his position, and I didn't give a fuck.
Mm.
I don't care about that. I'll respect you, but don't think you're something you're not just because you've been in a place for too long. I don't give a shit about that. But
That's a
look, we all have jobs that we don't like or haven't liked, and like in a perfect world, we'd all be billionaires and not have to work ever again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I mean, although I did see it, but I heard a podcast, and Tom Segura, who's a comedian, who's very well off now. He's doing very well. He said something the best thing ever. He goes, just so you know, money doesn't solve your problems. It just gives you more.
Yeah.
And I was like, he goes, am I happy that I can take care of my mom and I can take care of my wife and my kids? And yes, I'm blessed, but it just gives you more problems.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I'd like to test the theory, but
Wouldn't we all?
yeah, we'd all like to test the theory and see what happens. But like jobs are jobs. And if you don't like yours, I wish you the best of getting out of it and finding something that makes you happier.
This is funny because we don't really have anything big to add.
No, because I think that you're lucky. I mean, all in all, you're an independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of gold. I'm more just kind of skating. I'm lucky. I hate to say that I've kind of found a niche and I've got myself into things. Look, I can talk, and that's got me into a lot of places. And do I know what I'm doing? Yes. Not that I fibbed, but do I learn on the job? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, just like anything, you'd be on the job for 30 years, you're going to be changing. There's no
Yes.
way that you could keep doing the same thing.
Yeah. My thing is like, I can't tell you that I'm like the model employee. I went to a job at one point and they asked me if I knew how to do something and I said yes. And I filtered through a test a little bit because I remember certain things. And then when I got the job, I called my old technician and said, if I ever need help doing fire jobs, can you help me? And he goes, yeah, no problem.
Oh, cool.
Now, I did know a lot of stuff, but most of the stuff I remembered off the top of my head from being on a job site. I've never done none of that shit. It's just, look, I needed a job. I wanted to make more money. My dad told me when he got a job working for Caltrans, they asked him if he knew how to drive a certain truck. And he said, yes. He had no fucking clue how to do it. He walked out and talked to one of the guys on the job, literally. I mean, you got to remember, this was the early 70s where you could get away with that. And he goes, look, I need this job, bro. Can you show me how to? He goes, I've driven trucks, but I've never driven one like this. Can you show me? And the guy showed him and he goes, cool.
That was that, huh?
My dad worked for Caltrans 25 years.
Yeah, I remember.
So I get it. Sometimes, again, not a white lie will get you in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kind of the same with wrestling. I got us in the door, not always telling the truth, but not telling a lie either. Just kind of stretching the
Did
truth
what you
of,
needed to do.
yeah. And I got us on shows, and it got me more booked shows, and it got us doing this, and it got us. So sometimes you got to just puff yourself up a little bit and, and tell them that you can do it. And maybe,
Hmm.
and you just go along with it. Again, I feel for people out there who are struggling with their job, and it's going to, the economy's shitty. It's rough right now. It's really
I'd
rough
say
right
be
now.
like that for a while, it seems like.
Yeah. So, my only thing is I hope everyone can find their way. And if you can't, you get something that'll make you a little happier. My thing I'll tell you that I wish I would have did is I wish I would have went to school.
Mm.
I really,
Yeah, I still don't. I'm still no. I could be totally school stuff.
yeah,
I've gone to school all along the way and done different things. Never amounted to anything, but
I just think, or I wish I would have looked back and like, I kept telling my kid, like, learn a trade, a real trade,
yeah,
plumbing, IT, something that they're going to need forever. The medical industry, I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's never going away.
that's true.
It's just never, it's never, and you can work anywhere, like you can work anywhere in this country cutting hair,
Well, I would need a different license, but yeah, I could do it.
but you could get it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a good, it's a good trade to have, because if you want to pick up and move, and that's what, like,
yeah.
if you're a plumber, again, you might need a different license, but you can get it. It's a good idea. All right. Anything else to say on this quickie show?
No, I'm good. And my eyes are burning from whatever they're using out in the living room and kitchen. So
All right.
I
Well,
need
you
to
go
go and
clean
get
your
my
eyeballs
eyes.
out. It's an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Keep watching us, listening to us, whatever you're doing every Wednesday, on every platform you can feasibly think of. And I am definitely going on the social media. So go on to Facebook, Instagram, X, where don't get this twisted on all of them, and you can get updates when the show comes out. For my co-host Tina, I'm Rob. We will see you in a week. See ya.
See ya.